Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, sorry for we had the technical issues then, so that was why we were unable to start by 12. So I'll be proceeding right now. Yeah, my name is Fatiu Isiaka. I'm a software engineer. I'm also a platform developer. Uh, so basically, I will be taking us through the PL-100 track. Yeah. So big shout out to the Nigeria Dynamics 365 community that is organizing this, and I hope we all benefit from all this from the sessions and the next one we'll be having. So yeah, without further without further illustration, I'll just like to kind of share my screen so I can present the slides to us. We can be on the same page. Okay, so pretty much. Okay, fine. So I think I'm sharing my slides already. Okay, fine. So introduction to the Microsoft platform. So the Microsoft platform is something that came into play, around 20. It has always been extended in a different dynamics ecosystem before now, and and now things. So the agenda of those, should I say, sessions and the upcoming ones is to take us through the what's it called the what's it called the Microsoft Power Platform, so which is the PL-900, and I think at the end of the that we'll be having, one should be like comfortable to go for the what's it called the PL-900 certification program. So yeah, with like few hands-on and dedication. So the overview of this module is has to introduce us to platform ecosystem. It introduces us to the of the power platform. It's gives us like a clear vision or a clear understanding of the features that the components each component can offer. The power platform fundamentals also help us know like help us identify when to use what solution, help us understand when to use what like component of this power platform. So the power platform comprises of a lot of components that I'll be showing in the next slides, and also we can see like how these products or the power platform actually contributes positively to the business or to organizations generally. So the solutions are targeted at like several things that are happening across the business or across this organization. So the power platform, I would say, is a low code, platform that enables you to kind of, like integrate a lot of things, Microsoft ecosystem. So which include the Office 365, the Azure, the Dynamics 365, there's the SharePoint, the OneDrive, the Teams, the Dynamics CRM as well. So it's actually something that's cut across all the Microsoft technologies. It makes integration very, very simple, and it makes integration, achievable for the business in general. So the Power Platform comprises of, like four major components. So the first component is the Power BI that has to do with the business analytics. It helps you visualize your data. You get to see how your business is moving. You can actually have, like different charts. You can have different views to track, as progress is, like as things are moving in the organization, such that with the data. So the second one is the Power Apps. So I would like to clear, like a misconception that people have a lot with Power Apps. It's not like when you know Power Apps, you can actually start building native applications. No, you can't start building native Android or iOS application. No, it is more like you building a secondary application. Sorry, could someone confirm that I'm audible? Trying to say, hello? Just want to be sure I'm not talking to myself. I can't see any
We can, we
comment.
can we can hear you.
Okay, fine. So the what's it called? The Power Apps is more like a secondary application whereby you can easily build applications that can be used within your organization, within the tenants. We call it tenants, in the Microsoft terms. So it can easily be used on your tenants. So this is how it happens. It's like a secondary level application. So the Microsoft, engineers or the Microsoft themselves actually built the Power Application that you can install on your mobile. On that mobile, then you can now continue to build some canvases or some components. You can put 2 or 3 components together, add a button, and add a function, like that happens behind the scene. So which leads you to understanding, like some like codes in Power Platform. But generally, it is more like you designing like a customer is like you customizing different bring components together to make meaning out of it, to give it like a very suitable visual, to give it a very suitable, like UI experience, and having that, flexibility of having that backend happening on it. So it's more like an application basically. So, but the difference is just that, you're building the application on the what's it called, on the existing Power Apps application. So the application could do different things. So for example, so let's say you run a logistic company, you have your drivers, you have, like different, you have different sections or departments across the organization. So for example, you might want to have, let's say, an application, the same organization, connected to the same database. So that's basically maybe like keeps track of an item from, the first, from the first status to maybe like when it's dispatched. So you want to have an application such that, when the driver picks up the what's it called, the item from the store and, goes to deliver the application. So you can have an application for the driver to, locate the driver, to get, the exact location of the driver. You can have the application for the driver to actually log in some things, maybe like, when the item is delivered, you can ask him to kind of, probably snap the package, snap where he is, at the point of delivery. So you can have the application that does, different things. So you can customize it to suit your need. So basically, so that's what Power Apps actually does. Of course, we'll be going in details, in the next, sessions, or, I would try to kind of share, give us an overview, like details. So Power Automate, as its name implies, automation, it helps you to kind of automate your business processes. You might not necessarily want to do everything. So you just want to kind of have that thing that works for you. So you don't necessarily have to do all the tasks in the organization. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can just get, you can just pay, and you can just pay it for a service, and, things are being done. For example, Power Automate comes in place when you have something like you want to automatically generate an invoice with some details that you already have, like in some repositories. So for example, let's say when an email arrives from, this domain, I'm sorry, I'm being technical. I mean, the domain, the alias that has maybe like, for example, you want any email that comes from @gmail.com, you want to pick the email, generate an invoice, and send back to the email, and probably do some other things. So without actually touching it, you can configure something that listens for the events. So now listener, I mean, like it listens for the events. So what is the event in this scenario? The event is going to be, like when an email arrives in whichever mailbox you want to configure it on. So it's listening for the event and trigger something. So when it triggers, it has subsequent actions that it fires off immediately after. So we are definitely going to come in details in this, but I'm just kind of giving like a quick glance of what it entails. So you just want to have like an application such that you want to have like an automation, a process whereby you can automate generating invoice. So you can have an email, you can have like an email trigger that listens for an email. When you get an email, generate the invoice. It has different. I'm coming into the connectors part. So you want to generate something and send. So Power Automate actually, makes that very achievable for you. So without user intervention, you don't have to, you don't have to, you don't have to intervene in this action actually. So, and you can have different triggers on the Power Automate such that maybe you don't just want to listen for an event. So you want an operation to run every day. Maybe you want to go through database of, like employees. You want to have, like something that actually runs every day. So Power Automate makes that very achievable as well. So it even span across you having like UI flow, something that is going to happen for you on your computer itself. So for example, you want to kind of, like every 9 a.m. or every 10 p.m. in the night, okay, I don't want to kind of, I don't want to send the email. So you can configure a UI flow that, get the content and just do it for me. So basically, Power Automate makes automation very easier across board, like in the organization itself. So and when you're talking about the Power Virtual Agents, so which is the fourth component of the Power Platform. So Power Virtual Agents is more like, like you have something that responds on your behalf. So you can have like maybe you run a telecoms company, or you run like a payments company, whereby you have a lot of customers that comes back, that have different questions, that have different problems, or they can encounter any difficulty while trying to kind of integrate your solution or using a service. So you can configure a Power Virtual Bot, like a chatbot, that you can easily embed on your website, on your page, such that you can easily give that real-time feedback to your customers. So all these components are being put together on something. So we have like a foundation, I would say like a middle ground kind of. So we have the connectors. So we said you can actually do a lot of things. You can automate processes. You can build applications on different things. So for example, let's talk about you going out of the Microsoft ecosystem. So you need some kind of communication between the Microsoft technology and like the external technology. For example, say you want to integrate, you want to build an application that takes content from, let's say, SharePoint to Google Drive, right? It's so you might want to copy like files from SharePoint to Google Drive. So Microsoft has the capability of like controlling what is on the SharePoint side. But what about something on the Google side? So this is where the connector comes in place. It is something that connects different services together. So we have a lot of connectors existing on the Microsoft ecosystem of the Power Platform itself. So we have a lot of connectors. We have over 500 connectors that are built across different applications that you can actually use it for. So the connection makes it easier for you to kind of communicate between the Microsoft Power Platform generally, not just Power Apps. You can even communicate on Power Automate as well. So you can communicate on that channel. So using the connectors. So connectors is actually what brings the two services, or like multiple services together. So and you have the AI builder. This is something that gives you like a full-fledged, or let me say like it gives you like this the soothing experience of the AI, like the artificial intelligence, such that you want to kind of do something. You have some maybe you have some documents on your, you probably want to scan some things out of it. So you can easily do this with AI Builder. So it's something that like really works well when you're trying to do something, when you're trying to achieve something that has to do with the artificial intelligence. So here comes the Dataverse. So Dataverse is like the bedrock of all these platform, like application of the components, because it is where most of this Power Platform, data are actually leveraging on. So the Dataverse is more like the database behind that is controlling things behind the scene, or where data gets to saved, like where you get to save the data. So for example, I said maybe let's say you have customers on your platform that just want to send invoice. So you have the details of the customer. You can have it anywhere. So it is not just on the Dataverse. You can have it on probably SharePoint, on Dataverse, on SQL. So you can make the connector. The connector actually achieve that. But the Dataverse is something that the Power Platform are actually sitting on. It's like a general database where that's all the familiarize us with these things. So Dataverse is more like the data, so such that you have like different tables, you have different records that can like the Dataverse. So I will just move to the next thing, because I think we're running out of time already. So one of business value of the Microsoft platform is that we know things are really changing. Things are changing steadily. So, for example, we used to have company organization settings whereby you have different tools used for this. So, for example, you can have an in-house application that runs, maybe you have your in-house application, you want to have like another external application for a company. So you have to kind of through the stress of like paying several developers to build different applications, whereby you have another, you paying for another services, maybe like you're paying for the email service, you're paying for, let's say so you can pay for, maybe you're paying for the email services, you're paying for like some other services that is being used. So you can easily have those things like in like it's more like a one shop stop, sorry, one stop shop, yeah, kind of. So that brings things together for you, so brings solutions together for you to kind of like expand your what's it called, your organization productivity. So it makes you kind of you can easily jump on things within that same ecosystem, and you can easily control things with your mobile device, whichever device you have with you. You can easily do things across board, so you don't necessarily have to kind of like have to pay these services. You don't have to pay this service, another service, like paying different services. So it's kind of helps you kind of reduce the cost you spend on business tools, or on softwares that you use. So it's, yeah, basically it's kind of brings everything for you in one platform, and you can easily use it. So yeah, another thing is you can build and consume solution for web and mobile applications. Like, sorry, you can easily build something that is, we call it responsiveness in the software development terms. So we call it responsiveness, kind of. So which is something that conforms to all screen sizes, to all devices that you kind of like accessing it with. So you can actually build and consume solutions. You build some components on Power Apps, you can easily consume the components on another device. So as far as like at the time you're building the components, you're specifying the components it's targeted at. So you can have solutions built for different what's it called? You can have components built, or you can have. Let me be specific in this scenario. So you can have an application on the Power Apps. You can have it built for tablet. You can have application built for mobile devices. So basically, what we're trying to let us know is that once you have something, once you build an application, you can access it on any kind of devices, any kind of device. So you can easily build, like highly customized tags and role-based Canvas apps with data from one or multiple sources. So that's where data source actually comes from. So you can have maybe like your application reading data from SharePoint, at the same time reading data from the SQL. So you can have that flexibility. So you can have everything like you can have everything chunk into one piece. So which gives you the application and the flexibility to do a lot of things. So you can generate, like model-driven application as well. So that actually exists. So for that's majorly for business and data models kind of. So, and you can actually process things. You can have your dashboard. You can have different views, that suits your taste. So you can also consume, like you can consume accessible applications across web and mobile. That is, you can use a mobile phone, you can use a tablet, you can use a PC. So on any device, you can do that. So automation and like you can basically automate and integrate business process with Power Automate. So you have like different business processes. So for example, on the right hand side, we can see something like an invoice processing flow, a Power Automate flow. So actually, the word flow and Power Automate were used interchangeably before now. So until flow was renamed to Power Automate, and flow is now like a section, or flow is like a subcomponent of the Power Automate. So so you can automate business process across your application, across your organization, across the services. You can you can basically, for example, now like let's look at what we have on the right hand side. So which is like an invoice processing flow kind of. So what happens? So when an email arrives, so you want to process an invoice using the AI builder that I mentioned. So the AI builder is something that like has to do with the artificial intelligence. Maybe you want to kind of find the documents, extract some text from the documents, then put it or chunk it somewhere, then send it back. So for each, so the first thing on the flow, we have the trigger, right? So what triggers the flow is the first action of that flow when an email arrives. So it is the event listener. It listens for the event and triggers. So it fires the event, and what happens afterwards is the subsequent actions, right? So the first action is you want to process the invoice. The second action is you want to kind of check the outcome of the value that you receive from the invoice. So if the value is greater than 0.85, so you want to save the invoice details. If it's not, then you want to like generate like an approval flow kind of. So we are definitely going to go into this in details. So, but something to just like take away from this prior automate is you have the trigger and you have the subsequent action. So trigger is what fires the event, and action is what happens afterwards. So of course, I'm going to be showing us through the dashboard and what it looks like. Yeah, you want to gain insight from the data, regardless of where it lives. Power BI. You have data on Excel. You have data on SQL. You have data on the Dataverse. So you want to kind of bring all the data together and kind of visualize, tell where your business is going. You want to see the underlying problems in your business. You want to analyze different things. You can easily bring it to a dashboard. So which on the dashboard, you can easily analyze things and see how things are moving. You want to get insight on some of the data. So you can bring data from the Excel, put it or chunk it on the what's it called, the Power BI visual or a chart. You can have a chart. You can have different you have different what's it called, views that you can actually have on the Power BI. So regardless of where the data lies, you want to bring it on one platform and be able to kind of use data to kind of like tell where the underlying problem is in your business, or you want to analyze the data, so you can easily bring it to the Power BI. So it's one of the components of the Power Platform. So also, like I said, you want to build some kind of chatbots, so we can see from the right hand side. So we have an illustration of like a bot being built. So we can see that the first thing we can see the conditions, maybe like we can see like the chatbot actually comprised of different components as well, like the automates. So you want to build a chat that automatically responds to like the customer. So at least you have like a knowledge base. So it enables like SMEs to easily create powerful chatbots using a guided no-code graphical interface. So you have that interface for you. So what you just need to put together is a component. Okay, you want to do this. When this question is being asked in this form, or when you can basically highlight some kind of keywords in the questions. Okay, when you get the keywords from the question, okay, do this. So the condition, you can have that condition as well. So yeah, that's also something that is really cool about the Power PVA. We call it PVA, or Power Virtual Agent. So it enables like the agent to act on the customer's behalf. You don't necessarily have to kind of respond, or like you don't necessarily have to kind of jump like from what you're doing at the moment. You don't have to necessarily jump to respond to a customer at the same time, basically. So PVA does that for you, like without further interaction, without extra. So it also keep an eye on how your virtual agent is performing by using the metrics. The conversational metrics is something that actually learns as well. So it's kind of like AI driven kind of. So it uses the like AI driven insights to improve the bot's performance as well. So you don't necessarily tell the bots to do everything. So before you can actually get things done on that. So it's something that learns on its own as well. So also put all your data to work with Dataverse. Data you have from the Power Apps, data you have from the Power BI, data you have from the PVA, data you have from the what's it called, the flow as well. You can actually put it together on the Dataverse. So you can jumpstart apps using a standardized data model with business logic, security, and integration built in. So the Dataverse is more like a data warehouse, like a data store, where you can actually do a lot of things. So you can have data customized. You can define the roles and permissions on that. You can define security groups. You can do a lot of things. You can extend to your own needs and integrate across your application and services. So you can do a lot of things. You can do many customization on the what's it called, the Dataverse. So basically, it's more like a database to what's it called. It's more like a database to the Power Platform application generally. So like I said, we have connectors. So connectors is something that actually brings two services together, basically. So that's just like the straightforward, definition to connectors. It brings, like it helps you integrate between two services, or more than two services, basically in this scenario, because the Power Platform, use multiple connections. So we have the standard connectors, we have the premium connectors when it comes to paid version, like a free version. So that's when we use the terms. So we have, already existing connectors. So they are available for multiple products at the moment. So there's connector for SharePoint, there's connector for OneDrive, there's connector for Google Drive, there's connector for Zoho, a lot of things. So now one cool feature of the connector is that you don't necessarily have to be like a popular business out there. You don't necessarily have to like have that big business before you can integrate your connector on the what's it called, on the Microsoft Power Platform. So what you can do is you can have something that we call the custom connector. So custom connector is, let's say, for people that are familiar with, like APIs or, APIs basically. So you can have your APIs, so which is like application interface kind of for, like developers or people that are familiar with the concept. So you can easily have that your API integrated on the Microsoft Power Platform, such that, let's say you have a company, let's say like an e-commerce company, you sell maybe rice or something. So you sell something, you sell like products. Let's say Jumia, for example. Jumia can actually come and be like, okay, I have this my API, and maybe I'm using the Microsoft Power Platform, and okay, I can easily do some things, like automate some things using one of the Microsoft Power Platform, what's it called, components, which is, let's say, Power Automate. You can bring Power Automate to automate things on your end by connecting or integrating your own connector via your API. You can easily do that. Like you can establish that communication with the Power Platform to your own service, to your own custom service. So you don't necessarily have to kind of be out there, or your connector does not necessarily have to be on the Power Platform before you can use it. So you don't necessarily have to wait maybe for years before the integration is being done from the Microsoft end. You can easily, generate your own custom connector. Maybe like when an email arrives, pick something and add it to the cart. So you can easily have that. So it is really handy. So you can, so some of the features is, you have different types of connector. You can create from it, like you can create a blank custom connector. You can export like an open API definition, like a Swagger, document. You can easily, import that and generate the custom connector out of that. Maybe you already have your Swagger documentation already. So maybe you have that. You can easily drop that on the custom connector and it generates it for you automatically. You can also have like a Postman collection. So for I think this is actually much more familiar to the devs out there. So let's say the backend developers out there. So for example, you have your Postman collection. You have like your different endpoints saved into a Postman collection. You can export the Postman collection. Import it on the Microsoft Power Platform custom connector service, and it generates your connector for you automatically. With the body parameters, the queries, the endpoints, the URLs, it handles it for you. So what you might just need to do is, like define the mode of authentication and authorization, basically. So yeah, data loss prevention, compliance, privacy, and accessibility. So the Power Platform offers you these services as well. You can actually prevent the data from like loss. You can define your compliance. Of course, Microsoft is committed to like high level of trust, transparency, standards, conformance, and regulatory compliance. You have the data protection. You can do all these things, like on the Power Platform, on the Power Platform. So you can also manage your resources, the GDPR compliance. You have that in place as well. So you can access your Microsoft accessibility in Microsoft Power Platform. Yeah. So the Power Platform is not discriminative. Of course, you can have, like almost inclusively all kind of users over the world. So you can have, like even Microsoft has this, like specialized environment for learners. So yeah, I've forgotten what we call it. So for people that actually want to learn, you can have that. So basically, you can have the platform configured for different purposes. You can have it used by like different kind of people all over the world. And for example, an accessible Canvas app will allow users with vision, hearing, and other impairment to successfully use the app. So you have that flexibility of the visually impaired people can also use application. For example, since you have that is actually being put in place, and we are definitely going to cover all these things in the modules. So putting everything together, Microsoft Power Platform helps to add value to any business by analyzing, acting, and automating processes as well. So you can build application for your organization. You can automate processes with Power Automate. You can analyze data with Power BI, and you can build powerful chatbots with a PDA. And I think with this, this is actually sufficient for a business. Like it's a sufficient reason for a business to actually pick it up and like start using, because you have that full functionality. It's more like a one-stop shop or a one-stop shop, whichever. Yeah, so I think we've come to the end of what's it called, the first module. So this is basically the introduction. And what I would just like to do next is I will try to kind of show us the first lab, which is I'll take us through the what's it called, how to basically set up a what's it called. I'll try to kind of set up an environment. So you don't just get started out of the blue. So you want to, basically you want to get to see the platform, how it looks like, and you want to, before you want to know where you want to work on at, or sorry, what you want to work on. So it's not like you don't necessarily have to install anything. You don't necessarily have to install any, like software. So basically just use your browser. So this is a repository that has, like different labs, of course, hands-on, the first of the lab is the one that has to do for you to get for you to basically work on the Microsoft platform. You don't necessarily have to do anything. Just come to this lab. So the first thing, you need to acquire a trial tenants. That is not trial actually. So I don't think that is necessary for me. But what you can do is I'll be sharing this link. I think the admin would help sharing this link. So we would get this link, and what we need to do is just follow the setup. It's pretty much straightforward. So you just need to use this URL, apps.microsoft.com. Sorry, I would like to do this on a new tab. You can just use this URL, apps.microsoft.com. So you can, you have the flexibility of, using your language. You have it enabled for, like different languages as well. So what you just need to do is click on the Start Free. Once you click on the Start Free, it shows you the section where you need to provide your details, provide everything. But because I'm already authenticated, I might be seeing something different. So just for that purpose, let me just, bring it here. Sorry. Yeah. So because I'm already authenticated, yeah. So you might start free. So once you start free, it shows you according to the lab, you already have the instruction of what to do. So if you have an existing account, it will just authorize you and like, helps you sign in. Else you have to provide your phone number. You have to complete like some forms, and you can get started. Yeah. So for example, your email. Then the next thing, your account information, your profile, your maybe your name, your phone number, and the likes. So once you do this, you're done. Like you've set up a trial tenant of platform. And the next thing is you can, okay, so you can proceed. Of course, once you follow this lab, you will definitely get through it. So the next thing is you can come to the admin.platform.microsoft.com. So here you can create an environment. So an environment is where, so it's not like, okay, I'll be showing that now. So you can have, like in development procedure, you can have different, like flows across board. For example, you want to have like a dev environment where you want to kind of, like put things into practice. You can have, let's say, a production environment where, like in your organization, whatever is running, whatever is fully functional to the customer, that is where it is, like that is where everything is coming from. And you might want to have, let's say, like a staging environment. Maybe after your development, you've done developing all the applications, you want to kind of, like test, those applications. Maybe like you want to use your integration testing or something. So you want to just test. So you can have different environments for different purposes. So environment is just for you to kind of have that flexibility of not doing everything on one, like, so take it as a folder. I would say you should take environment as a folder, whereby you just want to have everything structured. So you don't want to kind of, like develop things on one environment and have that same environment being used by, like the customer. So what if you're doing like a try and error? So you don't necessarily want them to kind of experience difficulty accessing your service. So you can just have that there for, like dev purposes, development purposes. You can have your production for, like the live one. So which is the what's it called? The live environments, which is really yeah. So this is what the admin of our platform really looks like. We'll be coming to this power up in a bit. So we have the environment. You can see the environment, like you can have, multiple environments. But I think this takes, like a lot of, yeah, it takes a bit of, so for example, I have, like about 6 environments for different purposes. So you can have that environment. So I'll be showing us, like what the environment looks like on each service. So we have the analytics section as well. So you can see the analytics on the part of it as well. You can see analytics on the parts as well. You can see different resources. You can create a socket to Microsoft as well. So basically, I think I'll just, like come to this later. because I think we need to kind of see what's we need to kind of see the perhaps first. So majorly we would probably be starting with perhaps yeah. So perhaps you can canvas applications, like I said, will be taking us through creating like model applications, canvas application. We'll be taking us through the Power Automate as well, Power BI and the PA, so in different modules. So this is what the Power Apps actually looks like. So this is the home. So I was talking about the environments. So let's say you want to build an application. So you don't just build an application. You can specify the environment where you want to build the application. So let's say I want to build the application on default environment. I want to build the application on the Contoso on the Power Pages preview or something. So you can build it on different like environments. So you can have, so say this is a dev environment. So this is where like all the tests and error can go. So staging everything you've built, you want to test it on this. Like let's see the default as like the staging environment, and the last week it's like the production application, the production environment, such that you want to have everything that is live on that environment. So yeah, so you can use this learning. You can basically explore this learning section. So this gives you like an overview to different things, different thoughts. It's connected to the community. When you have questions to ask them. So the apps, so you can click. So as you can see, I have like a lot of applications on these ones that I've built previously, and also you can see the owner of applications. You can see the types of application here. So we'll be probably in the next modules, we'll be taking us through creating an application. You can, basically do that. Yeah, so we have different applications. I can just open one application, and just let us have like the look and feel of how things look like. I think it takes a while to actually load up. So it's kind of initialize different components, different things for it to load. So yeah, it's wasting much time. So we can create application. Here you can access all the repository, like application you have. You can create one for here. Specify maybe you want to create a blank app, or you want to create. So we have some templates that already exist, such that you can easily create. So we have different templates. So you can see the templates. So we have the templates. Maybe you want to create something that has to do with fundraising. You have the Power Apps training for Office. You have like Power Apps training itself, onboarding task, help desk. So you have all these custom applications. Although not everything might suit your taste, and not everything might be working as expected. So you might need to do some little configuration. You might need to do some connection, but we'll be coming to that in the subsequent mode. So the Dataverse, like I said, it's more like the database that everything actually lives on. Everything resides on the Dataverse. So you have the tables. So we have like different tables for different things. So let's say you run a company, you want to have like an account for like everything. So you have the account table. So on this table, you take this table like I'll call it the same table like in the normal SQL, like in the normal SQL platform. So you have the accounts, you have different tables. So under the tables, you can have different columns, different columns, different properties, different data type. So for example, you have this main phone, CT. So you can have relationship between these tables as well. So of course, I won't want to deep that. So you can also have custom tables. So the difference between the two is that Dataverse already has for you. Like Microsoft already has, they have all these tables for you already. So you don't necessarily have to kind of start creating tables. So there are tables that would suit your specific need. And if need be for you to kind of like expand beyond the already configured tables, you can also create your custom tables as well. So yeah, you have different choices, you have data flows. So of course we'll be kind of taking us through all this. So you have choices, you have flows. So you have data integration as well. So data flows basically helps you kind of like pull data across board. So say for instance you have some data on the what's it called? Say you have some data on an Excel sheet. So you import the data to Dataverse. So it helps you kind of like migrate data. So you can easily create a data flow. Maybe you want to migrate based on data based on like schedule, or you want to kind of you can have it, or you just want to do like a one-off migration of data. So it helps you do that. So I'll be skipping the Azure Synapse as well. So, but we go into the connections. So we have, like I said, we have a lot of connector. So if you look at this, we have different connectors, like I said. So this is an Azure connector. It enables me kind of like run some things on the Azure. This is the Microsoft Dataverse connector. You have the notification connector. So with these symbols, of course, I'll be going there now. Sorry. Okay, I will just these things are actually, you don't necessarily have to have them. You can just do like a Google Microsoft platform connectors. So it takes you there. So you can see the list of connectors available on the Microsoft platform basically. So showing these, of course, it's coming up. So but before then, okay, this actually loaded. So I won't, because we are running out of time. I would just like want to, I will take us through the application like later on. So, but the connectors, you can have connectors, like, so this is a connector to Twilio, for example. So Twilio is something that offers messaging, like is another service out of Microsoft. So it enables you kind of communicate. It enables you to send SMS, to numbers. So you can have an application or a flow created around these connectors. So you have the custom connector that I mentioned. So I was trying to kind of talk about the connectors. So we have like a lot of connectors. Yeah. So these are the list of connectors. So you can always see all this. So Adobe Acrobat Sign, we have all these ahead, Slate, Airtable. You have all these Amazon Redsheet, Amazon S3. You can connect all these services using these connectors. So basically, I wouldn't, like spend much time on that. So, but the custom connector, of course, is just for us to see the interfaces. So the gateways. So you have gateway. So for example, when you have data that lives on premise. So for example, you have data from the SQL server. So you might want to kind of migrate the data from the SQL server to what's it called? To the let's say the Dataverse, for example. So you need to create a gateway between the what's it called, the existing, the existing what's it called, platform. So you want to create a gateway behind them, between them, such that the data is actually moving from that end down to the what's it called, to the Microsoft end, so to the what's it called, Dataverse end. So you have the flows, so we can always explore all these things on the powerapps.com. So yeah, I think the link to this has been provided on the the link to this has been provided on the slide, and yeah, on the what's it called, on the chat. So I think we can actually take questions now. So because I see we're running out of time, right? Okay, yeah. So okay, I was expecting we would entertain some questions, but it seems I'm not getting any question. So I'll just kind of do like a run through as well, like on the what's it called, second module. So which is just going to be like very short, which has to do with the what's it called, the Dataverse. So with that, I would just share my screen again. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So the module two has to do with, like just to cover up for the time you have. So the module two actually has to do with the introduction to the Microsoft Dataverse that I was trying to kind of talk about. So the overview, you kind of see what I've talked about, what environments are. So you can have a table that takes um, user information. So you have like information. So the column has their respective data type. So you can have a data type of text, you can have a data type of number, like different kind of data type. So, and you can also have the relationship between the tables. So let's say, like, for instance, like a one-to-one table. So let's say you have like a user profile image table. So you want to have like a reference to the what's it called user ID on the user profile. So on the profile user image. So let's say you have two tables. One is user and one is user image table. So you need to kind of establish like a connection, like a relationship between the two tables. So the first one could have the what's it called user image table. The normal way it's been done, you can have like the user ID reference on the user image table, such that when you have a new image, you can like also append the value of the user. Okay, it is for user one, it is for user two, such that when you're trying to kind of query that, you can easily get the what's it called the user information of the person who owns the image. So yeah, you have the relationship as well. So it could be one to one, it could be many to many, it could be one to many, like whichever one. So you can describe the difference between data bus and common data model as well. And we can also explain use case and limitation of business rule and process flow as well. So we have different business rules for different purposes. So the overview is like database storing a set of standard and custom data structured core tables. Yeah, that's what table is. So you use it to kind of store data, store information of people, of organization, of different things. So the common data model is more like set of open source, standardized, extensible data tables and relationships. So it is more like the common data model. So it's more like like an open sourced way of kind of handling all those things. So yeah, it is also part of the Open Data Initiative as well. So the Dataverse for teams. So we have different Dataverse. The first one, we have different Dataverse. So we have one targeted for Teams, the Microsoft Teams application. So it has some kind of features for creating application, flows and more with Microsoft Teams. So it syncs more with, like Teams. So the Dataverse for Teams actually is targeted at, people that use, like the Microsoft Teams extensively. They have their app built on the Teams. They have some things they want to control via Teams. So they don't really want to kind of log into the Power Platform environment, so they can easily do those things from the Teams side. So most of like the standard tables provided with like typical database environment will not be present as part of the database from Teams. So whatever you are seeing on that platform on the PowerApps.com, you might not see it on the what's it called, the database for Teams, because it has different functionalities, it has different configurations, it's being used for different things. So also you can identify tables and columns in database for Teams. So you have all these things like being specific as well. So you have, like I said, we have different types of table. You can have the custom one, which is being created specifically for something that fits your own scenario only. And we have the standard ones as well, which is it's something that is like a template for like almost all the businesses we have out there. All the businesses we have out there actually like stores contact information, it stores account information. So you have those tables handy already. So what you just need to do is you might just need to kind of empty the sample data that is there and like start using. So you have different columns, which stores discrete piece of information, specific information within a record. So you can have like columns for like the name, the first name, the last name, the email, and the likes. So and they have different data types. So you have relationship between tables, like I said earlier. So you have like a one-to-many relationship, like a parent-child relationship. So an invoice parent table can have many line items like schedules. So you have like one-to-many relationships. You have like a many-to-many relationship as well. So yeah, we would actually get to that as well. So we would get the the lab for the data modeling as well. And I think so I think that should be like the end of everything we have today. So with this, I think definitely we would also be live next week, and we might also be kind of meeting like a colleague of mine as well. So Kelechi Igwe, so he might be the one taking the next section for next week. So until then, let's endeavor to kind of have hands-on on the labs. I'll be sharing the link, or the admin is sharing the link already. So let's have like hands-on on the labs, and we get to proceed by next session. Thanks everyone.